Hi, everybody. It's Brandon and Jordan from Conscious Commerce. Welcome back. We do a monthly webinar, and we're going to dive right into it. It's not going to be a long one. We're going to do some SEO optimization. Like basically, we want to share with you some insights. We want to share with you some of our knowledge around SEO. We do these educational webinars all the time. We're going to be ramping up and doing a whole lot more in the near future. If you have any questions during this presentation, just simply ask. Hi, Peggy. I can see you're here. That's awesome. So just a quick background. We've been in business for a long, long time. And gotta let the cat in. She wants to watch the webinar. So we've been in business for a long time. I've been in digital for 25 plus years. Conscious Commerce is a corporation that has existed for 16 years, and it's been a fun ride. We've had lots of adventures, and we're going to continue being a top-rated solution provider. We have an awesome team. Jordan recently joined the force and brings tons of insight, intelligence, great colleague. We synergize really well. He's got his eye on the prize also when it comes to digital results. So clients that we work with on a month-over-month basis, we have to really pay attention to making sure that there's an ROI that is measurable. And in SEO, it's not always as easy to find that, but Jordan has helped us add awareness. So welcome, Jordan. In fact, Jordan's going to do the presentation. He's going to get into the details of that. So we're going to, before we dive in, I just want you to know that we need to, as analysts, be able to offer our insight to prospects, to existing clients, on a recurring, ongoing basis. Other agencies will charge for their time and ideas. That's not our model. It never really has been. I don't like charging for consulting because for me, ideas are easy to come up with, and it's really the challenge is the results that happen after you implement the idea. That's really what we like to see where we get paid for. So doing all the work, implementing all the ideas, and getting the results. So we have our managed account program. We do these marketing analytics and performance review calls on all the different channels and products that we either provide or you have, and we access the accounts and we give you all kinds of ideas personalized. So if you're ever interested in doing a booking, a meeting and a Zoom session with us, that's fine, go ahead and do so. And we offer a wide range of different services. We have over 149 service offerings, you know, and that doesn't mean we cover everything because there's tons in digital. So we don't do we'll do social media, Facebook advertising campaigns, but we actually don't do like social media management. We have other agencies that we partner with to do other things to fill the gap because we're not going to be the best at everything. So, so that's it for now for me, and I'm going to pass this now off to Jordan as the presenter. And just give me a sec here.
Perfect. Thank you, Brandon. I'm actually going to take over. Do you mind if I take over and show my screen?
Yeah, I'm just doing that now. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Give me just 2 seconds. Awesome, guys. Alrighty, so as Brandon said, that I'm Jordan. I'm part of the Conscious Commerce Corporation team here. I'm acting as a marketing, basically as an expert in digital marketing to help our clients and our prospects understand the true power of digital marketing in place of traditional media and other things that people have usually come in contact with when trying to generate new business and new ideas for their company. Today we're going to be focusing on search engine optimization. SEO, in short, is the practice of optimizing your site for search engines to believe that you're authoritative and trustworthy when it comes to answering a user's query. And that basically means if you go to a search engine, I've listed a few here, like Google or Bing or Yahoo or even Ask or DuckDuckGo has been gaining in popularity, and you type something in there, your keyword, Their job as a search engine is to give you a website or a web page that is going to answer your question or your query. 90% of the time when you go to a search engine, you're asking to find more information about something. And that means that you're a customer of these search engines, thus they want to provide you the best product that they have available. In order for them to do that, they need to crawl the entire internet, which is billions and billions and billions of websites, so that they can understand that, hey, upon this certain search term or query or keyword, I'm going to show these results. And then we end up having search engine results pages. There's pages 1 till who knows however many, depending on your search. But really where everybody wants to be is page 1. If you're in the top 10 of the search results, you're going to get some traffic to your website. Ideally, you want to be in top 5, top 3, number 1. I think there's some recent statistics that came out that if you're in the number 1 position, you're almost guaranteed to get 25% of the search traffic that search for that particular keyword. So it's very powerful, especially when we're talking about a very high volume keyword, for example. So as I mentioned, here are a few search engines. If you're unfamiliar with them, you can take a quick look. The ones that we're going to be focusing on are primarily Google. But
your screen's not presenting, George.
Sorry?
I don't see your screen. Is your screen presenting?
Yeah, it should be. It's showing screen 2 here. Are you not seeing it?
There it is.
Does that pop up for you?
Yep.
Sorry about that. Perfect. So I wanted to show some of the most popular search engines throughout the world, throughout Canada, and throughout the United States here, just so you have an idea of where to focus a lot of your energies. Now, search engines have been growing in popularity, of course. Everybody knows Google, and it's clear here that Google is the #1 search engine pretty much across the world. So this first block here is showing worldwide search engine use in June of 2020. 91, almost 92% of people that do searches online are going to go to Google first. Then we have Bing trailing behind with the 2.75% and so on and so forth. Interestingly enough, in Canada, we almost matched the same type of volume here for Google. Bing has a little bit of an increase there, almost 5%, and then it kind of trails down pretty low after that. The US is slightly different, where they also see a big use of Bing and Yahoo, in fact, whereas Google is still the majority holder of search traffic online, with 87% of people still using it. So when we refer to search engines, typically we just say Google because they are by far the leader in this space and in terms of SEO. You want to convince Google search engine to rank you because you're going to get a lot of traffic there versus some of these other smaller search engines. Moving on, guys, there are a variety of different things that come into play when you want to rank your website on Google. Of course, there's all the paid advertising. We're not going to be talking about that as much today. We're going to be focusing on what it takes for Google or these other search engines to want to rank you. Now, that's all based off of an algorithm that they use. So it's nearly impossible for a human to be able to go through the vast quantity of websites that are online to understand just how authoritative or trustworthy they actually are. So they've created these algorithms, basically machine learning algorithms, that are going to go through, crawl these websites, get the information that they need to then determine, where you should rank upon a certain search query. Now, there are 3 main things here that come into play when we're talking about Google's algorithm or ranking factors, is how people say them. Nobody knows exactly, unless you're a Googler, exactly what that algorithm is consistent of. There's a lot of different factors that come in there. There's actually over 200 different ranking signals. We have a pretty good idea through experimentation and just being constantly vigilant of changes in the search engine results pages. So we know what is influencing these search engines and these algorithms. The top 3 factors here are links, which build your off-page authority or popularity, content, which is the on-page, and that builds your trust. And then there's rank brain, and that's the name of the algorithm that Google uses, which encompasses over 200 signals. And this is a combination of both links and content. as well as many, many, many other things that come into play for Google to want to understand who you are. A lot of technical aspects come into the rank brain as well. For example, performance of website. You may or may not know that it is actually a very important signal for Google. If your site takes longer than its recommended 3 seconds to load, Google actually views that as hindering the user experience, and you may actually see a reduction in your SEO ranking because of something like that. Now, when we get into a little bit deeper of the rank brain algorithm here, all search engines use some sort of another algorithm to figure out where you should rank. They're all very similar, which makes it easy for SEO in a way that you don't have to significantly change your strategy if you decide to go after rankings in Bing or Yahoo or even Yandex, which is the most popular search engine out there in Russia. But the Google one, rank brain here, it uses a core of machine learning, so it consistently and always understands different ranking signals for all different websites. You've probably heard of website crawls before, and if you're on top of it through, say, your Google Search Console, the best way to kind of view how Google sees your website, they are constantly crawling your website. Every few days, there will be a crawler that'll go through your website just to see if there's been any changes to your site, because Google wants to stay relevant to current understanding and time. The worst thing that could happen in Google's eyes is if you do a keyword search and then up pulls a website there that has outdated information, and then now you're left with, not understanding or not actually getting a correct answer to your particular question. Now, the big idea, the big change in Google and other search engines most recently is this idea to give true intent and true relevancy behind its search results. There's been a major push in the last year or so where Google's trying to better understand the intent of your particular keyword search. So for example, if you were to type in blue car a year ago, you'll probably end up seeing a mix of different types of websites, dealerships that might be trying to sell you a car, or informational sites that just speak on blue cars, or maybe mommy bloggers that she's talking about the new blue car that she bought. Now, in today's world, where Google's been making some significant strides there to update their algorithm, you're going to see completely different results if you were to type blue car or buy blue car. Adding that extra word in there in your keyword search, buy, completely changes your intent of what you're searching for. Thus, Google wants to be able to, again, provide you the best answer. So if you type buy blue car, you're most likely going to see a lot of websites trying to sell you blue cars. Whereas if you just type in blue car, you'll see informational based websites that talk to you about blue cars, because Google doesn't know that you might be willing to buy one, or if you just want to understand more about blue cars. Awesome. One very important factor when it comes to your SEO is obviously tracking the data that you are getting. SEO can be a major investment for a lot of small businesses. It's not necessarily the most affordable thing to go after, because there are a lot of moving parts. And if you're a true SEO agency like Conscious Commerce is, we are constantly trying to evolve and update to move along with how Google is updating, so that we can continue providing new results. If, for example, you track your own keywords, you might see a lot of change in that search engine results page on a daily basis. This is because Google's constantly trying to change and make its product better. So for us on an agency side, or for any SEO really, we want to be able to report to you on your investments. So if you want to see an increase in your keyword rankings via SEO, we're going to do our best here to give you that information and provide actionable data back. So this screenshot here is looking at Google Analytics. Every website, I believe, should have the Google Analytics tag on there, so that you can actually track the users that visit your website. Now, this is a really important section on here where we're looking at overview channels, and this gives us an idea of where your traffic is coming from online. So if we're to take a look at this channel grouping, for example, you can see organic search here in this client's case. A major majority of their traffic, 74% of their online traffic, is coming from an organic search through a search engine. Now this is followed by direct and social and referral and display. So you can see here that this is a major way for this website to get their traffic through Google searches. If search engine didn't exist, they'd have a significantly less visibility online and a lot less visitors to their site, which then means less chances to get a conversion, whether that be lead-based or e-commerce based on their site. Now we use this type of data here to get an understanding of quality and of total volume of your search engine traffic. So for example, if you started SEO today and you're going after, I don't know, buy blue car, we want to see that keyword increase in rankings to a point where it's actually pulling searchers into your website, and this is where we would see that happening. Now, to go even deeper into that, there's a whole nother area of SEO that we haven't even talked about yet, and that's the Google My Business. Google My Business is an extremely important aspect of SEO in today's day and age. It's Google's foray into more of a local-based search strategy. So if you have a location and you deal with, if you have a physical location and you want to get people in your local market to come to your store, well, you definitely should have a Google My Business because people might be searching for, I don't know, haircut near me, for example. Then Google, through your Google My Business account, will know that you're looking for a local business, and this is how Google understands that you, or to show your business to that particular searcher. Now, this is highly trackable performance, and this is very important to us. In this particular case, we've actually created UTM tracking codes, which are specific tracking identifiers that will tell us when a Google My Business account is being clicked or being used, and then drawing that traffic back to your website. Now, this account here is just a small site that we're using for testing purposes, but you can actually see here Google Organic as the #1. That's just regular Google searches. When somebody types in a keyword in and clicks on the link, the listing, it goes through to the site. But we also have GMB YVR, which is the short code for Vancouver. Then we also have YYC, YYZ. Just to give an example of these 3 completely different locations for this client are drawing in different types of traffic locally to those areas. And then again, we can start to understand how these people are interacting with the website, and furthermore, are they actually converting? For this particular example, we can see here that these 2 Google My Business locations, YVR and YYC, are drawing in a couple more form submissions than the YYZ one in this case.
One thing to add is that it may not look like there's a ton of action going on with this particular client, but the value associated to a lead is in the thousands of dollars. So we don't need tons. Everybody's different in different businesses. And the other thing too is Google My Business is basically the transactional layer of the internet. We have a client this month that has received over 900 phone calls just off of their Google My Business listing.
Right.
So it's the first thing people see before they even get to your website.
Great. You make a great point there, Brandon. It's not always about volume of traffic. You have to take into account the quality of that traffic and actually your business intentions. If you are a company that has an extremely long sales process, but at the end of that process, there's a large sum of money that needs to be invested, well then maybe 2, 3, 4 leads is enough for you to make a really good ROI. Versus another company, which could be an e-commerce based company that sells pens online. Well, these are low ticket items, so yes, you're going to need more volume of traffic and more conversions overall to help you make your ROI. So it's all different on a per business situation, and that's where conscious commerce will come in there. We'll look at it as a consultative approach and educate you and help you understand that, hey, this is really what you should be expecting from your SEO in terms of volume of keyword searches and leads, because a 10 search volume keyword could just be just as valuable as a 1,000 search volume keyword. It all depends on your particular business. Here's a couple of examples of furthering search engine growth over the past couple of years. Google's been adding a tremendous amount of basically structured data is what it's called, or schema in some cases. This particular example is showing us a featured snippet. So in this case here, cfi.com, they're actually the #1 search result after the ads we see up here. But what Google's done is actually provided a snippet of information directly from their website. So this searcher typed in medical device certification, and without even needing to go through to the website, Google's providing some information to the user just based off of that search query. That's because Google One knows the relevancy of this query is highly relevant to what CFI has on their website. And the intent of this search tells Google, hey, they're probably looking for some more information on device certification, so it's able to give you this type of information. Again, this is not restricted, but it's given to sites that are very powerful in terms of authority and trust between the search engine and this keyword search. So usually if you're ranking up there #1 or #2, you're going to be eligible to get this type of featured snippet. And it's just added value to your searchers that creates more trust and credibility between you and them. Local SEO on page example here. Now this is showing Google My Business, the power of Google My Business. So odor removal services, Fort Myers, Florida. So you notice that within this keyword search, we're using a geo identifier. Very, very, very important, again, for Google to understand your intent. It now knows that if I do this search, I'm looking for odor removal services, but I don't want that anywhere. I want that specifically in Fort Myers, Florida. So then Google knows that if it has the resources to show me something local, it definitely will. And in this case, we see the map showing in our search engine results page here. It's got a few different companies that would show up because they matched my search parameter. Google is definitely in favor of organic reviews. Again, here's a tip for you guys. If you're really focusing on your Google My Business or working with partners like us, the thing that we want to focus on, one, is having very current, updated information in your GMB profile, but we also want to cultivate reviews because Google views reviews as primary information. If you can get a tremendous amount of positive reviews, that goes a very, very, very long way in Google's books. So you're going to see very highly reviewed sources here for the most part, but also if you do a great job inside of your Google My Business explaining who you are, what you do, and what value you bring to people, you're also going to get the opportunity to rank here when it comes to local-based searches. And then we also see down here in this bottom section of this slide, we have odor removal services for imol.usa. or US, sorry. They don't necessarily rank in this map section, but they have the #1 organic rank, and that works in combination of their Google My Business because we see their reviews showing up here, their ratings, and then also just general broad-based SEO, where Google believes that this company here is very relevant to this particular search. And a really good way to notice that is that this search literally is showing in the headline of this search result, and that comes from your title tag on your search page there. Now I just want to get into a little bit of the SEO strategic impact with you. There are a tremendous amount of benefits, as we can see here, from having a solid SEO presence. But to go beyond that, there are a few items that I truly believe will really generate you the type of traffic that you want and the type of conversion that you want. It's generally a lower digital media cost. SEO can be less expensive than advertising, in that it also generates a lower CPA in most cases. So if we were to compare SEO and PPC, for those that are familiar with PPC, pay-per-click advertising, that's you being able to show a result per keyword search in the ad section above the organic. But if anybody clicks on that particular ad, it's going to cost you some money, and you have to pay that directly to Google to be there. Now SEO, obviously, it's organic search results, so those clicks that you'll attain are actually free once you're able to attain it. those type of rankings. So in the long term, SEO will probably 90% of the time or more generate you a lower CPA because you're not paying per click to get those people to your website. And there is a lot of volume that you can get from ranking just from organic listings. Now it's a market share defense, so you can take revenue from your competition. That means that if you can rank well in SEO and your competitors paying for ads, generally organic results are also more trusted by the general public. For at least people that know the difference between an ad and an organic result. For any of those in the know, you can only get organic rankings if you've done a really great job convincing Google that you should be there. And almost everybody trusts Google to make this decision for us. So we're able to also show and take revenue from competition if they're not ranking as well as we are. Now, branding impact, their increased visibility and create a favorable public impression with organic listings kind of ties into what I was just mentioning there. People trust organic listings. If you can rank organically in top 3, top 5 for a particular keyword, you're most likely going to get a click. In today's day and age, you know, you don't necessarily just click the first result and leave it at that, unless it's a really great website that you end up on. You'll probably click through a few of them if you don't know exactly what you're looking for. So you want to have that branding awareness through organic results because you're going to create more trust with that particular searcher. And then long-lasting results. Once you get to the top, it's hard to knock you off. It's not as if you're going to be there forever if you don't maintain your SEO and your strategy. It's like planting a tree. The tree is going to grow, but you can really cultivate that tree and you can really enhance the growth of that tree if you take care of it. You're constantly watering it or feeding it some fertilizer, you sing to it maybe, it's probably going to grow into a much more solid and really healthy tree overall. Versus if you just plant it out there and you leave it and you don't water it and it's a dry spell, well, then, yeah, it could start to wither away, it could start to die. Well, that's what happens with your SEO as well. So as long as you're maintaining a certain amount of awareness around, you know, your on-page and your off-page type of SEO, you can really maintain very high rankings for a long period of time and consistently generate traffic on an ongoing basis that will get you high quality leads for a very low cost per acquisition. And that's pretty well it from what we have today on SEO. I'd love to hear some questions for you guys. Brandon, maybe you have some insight to add in there to the presentation.
He was asking just simply like with all of the e-com on her website, it's a pretty daunting task to have to update every single product. So what would you do first? You know, would you do the meta info on the product, the description, alt tag? I was saying to her that she should do the meta, the description, and make sure that the product URL is also it's got the product name in there.
Yep.
Categories are also another thing with the e-commerce side of it. A lot of people don't realize, but categories get picked up by search engines, and they need to have descriptions and images that can be connected depending on the function and feature of your storefront. So putting images in there, and also the images you're using for your products. If you only have one image and it's not a good image, then it's hard to sell because nobody can like touch the product and stuff, and so that's important, just to make sure that you have several image or product shots that when they zoom in, they can get as much detail as possible.
That's great. General rule of thumb, I would say, when it comes to your SEO, if it's easy for a person, like a human being, to understand what you're doing, like very easy, very cut and clear, well, then that's also going to translate to Google or to the search engine, because they're trying to really replicate what a person thinks when they view your website. And you mentioned a couple of the more technical items in there, like title tags, meta descriptions, H1s, and alt text. These are all portions of your on-page SEO. They're behind the scenes type of information that you distinctly put there for search engines to better understand you. So when you add your title tag, that ends up being, you know, the title of your website, but it also shows in search engine results pages that very top line wording So if you have a very relevant title tag to whatever the content is on your page, well, that's good for two things. One, the person's going to know exactly what they're going to be looking at when they click that search result. And two, Google's going to know what what value you're bringing to them by saying that. So for example, if your title tag says, we sell the best pens in the world, but then the rest of your website or that web page that they're looking at is actually talking about paper and how you have great paper, well, then that doesn't correlate. That person that clicked on your image to begin with, or your listing to begin with, is going to be kind of confused when they reach that page. So you want to make it absolutely clear to the person and to the search engine.
Here's an example of an e-commerce product in our storefront backend, where and this even it does a preview of what your product will look like on Google. So the main areas are the page title,
yep,
and then the description, meta description.
Right.
So those are attributes that are the bare bone basics when it comes to a product. If you have attributes like the UPC, the brand, like this is what we would consider structured data, like where this is universal information across all products, across everywhere, and it's structured so that, everyone's looking for a barcode. Well, that's a universal component. So if you fill all these in, you get more points as part of the SEO. If you incorporate all the images as well, like you have access to uploading all the images, then that helps also. And it goes back to what Jordan was saying around, how do we make this as easy as possible for a human to engage and interact with? It's about the user experience and what happens in there. Now, this is a site that we haven't managed. The client does this on their own, but these are the categories, and you need images and typically a description for the category itself, because categories can be fed on websites and they almost appear as a product, but they're a feed of products. And there's also other channels as well that you can connect your storefront to on all these different areas, places, and spaces. So similar, like if you're doing any kind of ad campaigns with Google, then, and your products qualify, you can take a product feed. And if I go, like, for example, up to Google right now and I look for something similar to what Jeremy's, our client's selling, do you see all these products appearing up here? These are companies that have ads running with their product feed, or if you click on Google Shopping, it gets very granular with its own sort of integrated shopping experience where Google is aggregating these product feeds and tying it and binding it to advertising. And you can see that because it says sponsored. So there's also, this is essentially 100% paid advertising, but that's another way to expand your reach. If you're running into trouble where you're not getting enough traffic to your site, you have to look at paid search. It's just simply a requirement because there's really no other way to do it. So
right, and that's a good point, Brandon, because if you're a new business or you're a new website and you don't quite have the SEO power, the ranking to get in front of people that are searching for keywords that represent who you are, then PPC or Google Ads is a great alternative or a great supplement to your online marketing, because you can be working on your SEO in the background. It takes time. Let's not beat around the bush here. It takes a long time to convince Google that, hey, you are a really great resource for this particular keyword, but you really need to put the legwork in to make that happen. So while you're doing SEO in the background, you could be running PPC ads in the front ground or in the foreground, and then get that visibility for those keywords right away. You can start making some sales, get that loyalty building, start putting some money in your pocket. So then when your SEO does come up and you do see that ranking, you can pull back on the PPC. And like I was mentioning earlier, you can get better CPAs generally from your organic listings because you're not paying every time somebody clicks on it.
Yeah. So how about this? If anyone else has any other questions, we're going to table those, and you can simply email us. All our contact information has already been shared with you guys. You know who we are. We're not going anywhere. We are planning an event next month. We're going to send a newsletter out and promote that probably tomorrow. So keep an eye out for it. Would love to hear how you're doing with SEO. If you have any further questions, you know how to get a hold of us.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye now.